Hello everybody. This is going to be a video of a document that I created, and I used it from 3 different sources. The reason I made this video is because this document is because I didn't feel as though the book did a good enough job to help explain the different parts. So there are 3 parts. Even though I put different ways to organize an argumentative essay, I'll go over this chart. Then down here, I gave you starting your opposition and refuting phrases. I give you words how to start the opposing paragraph, how to refute it. I'll go over that. And then the last part here, I gave you an example paragraph of how to refute, and then I gave you weaknesses that you can find in the opposing view. So let's start with the beginning. And again, while I'm scrolling up, you should have a copy of this in front of you because you can use this for your essays. Follow it. It's a good guide. I realize that I have other videos, but I really like this one. I think it gets to the heart of it, to the heart of the issue. So first of all, we know an argumentative essay, we want to have our side, and then we want to bring in what the other side, the opposing view, brings in. And here are 4 different ways of how you could create or organize your essay. First of all, Model A. Obviously start with your thesis statement, and then you can go over your pro, what you're for, and then here bring in the counter argument and refute it. Oh, come on. Excuse me, sorry about that. And then you want the conclusion. Over here, Model B, excuse me one second. So here's Model B. We have the thesis statement, and then you can bring in the counter argument and then refute it here in the beginning, and then your pro, and then the conclusion paragraph. Now look, these are all structured as 5-paragraph essays, but I want you guys to get beyond that, especially for your research paper. You have to go beyond that because you have to have 8 pages or whatever the requirement is at the time you see this. Model C, you can start with your thesis statement, counter argument and refute it, counter argument and refute, counter argument and refute, and then your conclusion. So this way is kind of strange to me. I don't know if I've ever done it before. And then here, your thesis statement, counter argument, counter argument, counter argument, and then your pro argument here, and then the conclusion. I can honestly tell you Model C and Model D I've never used before, but if you want to go ahead and try those, go ahead. However, I recommend you use Model A and Model B. These are the most common, and honestly it's the ones I've only used. So I wanted to give you the 4 distinct ways, but again, Model A and Model B are probably the best ways to go. So these are ways to set up your paragraphs. Also here, I wanted to let you know too that back on Model A, counter argument and refutate, it doesn't mean just 1 paragraph. Maybe you can have 2 or 3, depending how many counter or opposing you want to bring in, how many opposing paragraphs you want to bring into your essay. So obviously if it's a longer essay, you'll probably want to bring in more of the opposing views. Because remember, if you bring in the opposing views, it helps with your credibility, your ethos, because you're not afraid to bring in the opposing views. It means that you've done research, and you're going to bring those in because you know in the end that even though they disagree with your viewpoint, you're going to refute it, spin it back, and say how it's good for your side, or how your side is better, excuse me. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. Okay, let's go to the next part. So here, starting the opposition and refuting phrases. I've had people email me and some students, and it's understandable. How do I start this, teacher? So the point is here, you want to introduce the opposing argument. You want to bring in the other side. Here are a few phrases that you can use to start it. So if we're going to start the opposing view, you want your reader to know that you're starting the opposing view. And this could be in the top, well, this should be in the topic sentences. So you could say, but blank is not completely inaccurate. It is often argued that it is true that opposing views claim, or many people disagree, something like that. You want to acknowledge the parts of the opposition that are valid. I think I've gone too far. Yeah, no, that's good. So you want to So you're going to bring in, excuse me guys, you're going to introduce one of these phrases. It's a topic sentence. Your reader will know that this is an opposing views paragraph. Then you're going to acknowledge the parts that are valid to their argument. So, and you might think it's hurting your argument by bringing in the other side, but it's not. Again, it's giving you more credibility. So then here you want to acknowledge the valid parts. And how are you going to do that? Start with the words maybe, admittedly, certainly, of course. One cannot deny that, or at the same time. This way, you are giving them credit for having some valid points. And here are some words you can use to create or start that sentence. Then, of course, counter that argument. You want to refute it. You want to spin it back to your side. Here are some ways you could do that. Nevertheless, however, on the other hand, but. And then you want to introduce the conclusion. Now, the conclusion is to the, not the conclusion paragraph, it's the conclusion to the paragraph that you're working on, the opposing views. So here are some ways you could start that. Thus, therefore, as a result, ultimately, and sometimes you may want to restate your thesis in other words because you're coming back to your claim. Your claim is your thesis. This will make more sense. Let me go over this paragraph with you. So in this paragraph, you may want to read it before you continue, pause, but I'm going to go through this as though you've read it. So here if we look at, many critics of going green claim that becoming environmentally friendly is too expensive and will result in higher tuition and fees. So this person who's writing this they want their college to go green. They want this to be cheaper. They want to save the environment. But the critics, many critics, the opposing view are saying, well, if you go green, it's going to cost the college more, therefore the tuition is going to be higher for the students. So here, many critics, or opposing claims, or many people believe that you're introducing the argument, the opposing argument. And right here was, I came back up here, introducing the opposing argument. Here are some of the ways you can do it. They decided to use, excuse me guys, many critics claim that. So this is their topic sentence. We know it's the opposing views. Your readers will say, here comes the opposing view paragraph because it's very clear in this topic sentence. Then they jump around a little here. So the first sentence, yes, you're saying, the opposing view is saying that tuition and fees will go up. But you're going to counter that. You're going to refute that. And you're going to say, however, often a very small increase in fees, as little as a few dollars a semester, can be enough to help a school institute significant change. So what they're saying is, yes, it may go up, but the tuition is not that much. And what are the results if it goes up? So what they're saying here is the students initiated a $1 increase for their tuition, and that $1 increase didn't hurt the students, but it also helped them save or reduce carbon by 12 million pounds. So they're saying, look, yes, college tuition may go up, however, it's not going up, and if it does, the students are okay with it because they've already added $1 to their tuition. And what has that tuition done? It has helped reduce emissions of carbon by 12 million pounds. Okay. Then the next part. So again, let me rephrase. Topic sentence. This is the opposing view. Here we are refuting it. This, we know. You're saying this is true, but actually it can be true, but it's not as bad as you think it is. Then here you're going to say, although university faculty and administrators' commitment to sustainability is critical for any program's success, few green initiatives will succeed without the enthusiastic support of the student body. So what they're saying is here, look, you have a point. Tuition may go up, and it needs administrator commitment, but the overall, or the student body, they're going to have the support, and they do, because this school has already said, you know what, a student-initiated $1 increase. The students came up with that. So what they're saying here is, yeah, you're worried about tuition hikes, but the students aren't, because in other schools, they're saying, let's do it if it's going to help the environment. And then here, the conclusion, you could restate your thesis here, but they decided to say, ultimately, students have the power. So yes, excuse me here. So yes, you're right, higher tuition, but the students have the power, and they have already said, yes, we're okay to do it. They gave $1. So then here, if they think their school is spending too much on green projects, then they can make a change or choose to go elsewhere. So the students can make the change, which they have. They said, let's increase it. Or if the students don't like it or the tuition's going up, they can go to a different school. So this was a good opposing and refuting paragraph. Let's go to the next part. I'm sorry that this video is going over 10 minutes. I really try to keep them there, but it's very important, so I'm going to keep going with this. So, weakness in the opposing argument. What made the argument here weak? Was it number 1, was there a factual error, or was there contrary to fact statements? Number 2, was there insufficient support? Number 3, was there illogical reasoning? And you can read these over later. Number 4, was it exaggerated or overstated claims? Or 5, biased statements? And then number 6, was the argument irrelevant? Was it even off topic? Did it even belong here? So we'll go over that more later in more detail, but right now these are some of the weaknesses that you can find when you're bringing in the opposing views. Now here I put number 7. In the example paragraph above, what was its weakness? I think it was number 4, exaggerated or overstated the claim. Look here. They're saying that higher tuition, it's going to result in higher tuition if the college goes green. I think they're over-exaggerating. They're trying to scare people and saying, you know what, if the cost goes up, the students aren't going to be happy. It's going to hurt the school. When in actuality, it was just the opposite. So I would go with number 5. Okay, identify the exaggerated statements and explain why they overstate the case. And I think that this person who wrote this, the young man who wrote this, really said, yeah, you exaggerated this and here's why. Students are for it. Students can go elsewhere if they don't like it. And if the administrators think they have a lot of power, not really so, because the enthusiastic support of the student body is what keeps it going. Okay, everybody, this was the presentation. I hope this helps. Look this over again. Outline models, I would choose A or B. Here, how to start your opposition and how to start your refuting phrases in the paragraph. Look at the example I gave you. I break it down really well. I talk about it. And then you want to look for the weaknesses in the opposing arguments. So when you're writing your own paper, you're going to bring in the opposing view, look for the weakness, state why it's weak, why it is weak. I hope this helps. Okay, everybody, good luck. Thank you.